Breaking news. JLR investigates with the breaking news. We are covering the border migrant crisis on this channel. Boots on the ground. We've been all across the southern border, all across the northern border. We are reporting now from the JLR Bat Cave on the west coast of Florida. We've been covering everything and anything dealing with the border migrant crisis for the last few years. We have hundreds of videos up on JLR Investigates. And I say this for new people that are coming aboard. Come on in, come on in. All are welcome on JLR Investigates. We want to bring public awareness to Tren De Aragua. We've talked about Tren De Aragua, the Venezuelan gang, on this channel on numerous lives in the past. But it seems, folks, this violent Venezuelan gang has been spreading more and more across the United States. There's reports now that Tren De Aragua is in 16 states across the U.S. Who is Tren De Aragua? Well, it is a gang that was formed in prison in Venezuela around 2009, 2010. They have thousands and thousands of members. And remember, folks, with this border migrant crisis that we've been covering, in the last few years, the Venezuelan president and authorities in Venezuela has been releasing all the inmates from the prisons. Out, get out, and releasing all the criminals out onto the streets. And a lot of them in the last few years have been trekking up through Central America or flying and making their way to Mexico and then making their way to the southern border and then crossing into the United States illegally. Border Patrol, as we know, processes the individuals. Now, Venezuela doesn't cooperate with the United States government in reference to criminals. So Border Patrol, runs these people's names where they can say they're anyone. And the majority of them get to stay. And these people end up in cities all across the United States. Denver, Chicago, New York, Boston, Los Angeles, Houston, a lot of cities. We've been seeing the stuff going on in Denver, Colorado, right? Aurora, Colorado. This has really got my attention from Aurora, Colorado, probably about 6 months ago on, where I was really following about this gang, Tren De Aragua, because for years we would only hear MS-13, right? We would hear a lot about MS-13, but nobody really knows much about Tren De Aragua. Well, now they're in the spotlight. And they're spreading, folks. They're spreading across the country. I have so much new information to share with all of you. This is like a channel where we put together different reports that are out there, and it's terrifying, folks. It is absolutely terrifying. And, me being boots on the ground myself on the southern border, I think I went face to face with many Tren De Aragua members walking the streets of El Paso, very sketchy NGOs and churches that would house and bring these, let these migrants stay at their facilities as they navigate out to a city near you, probably Denver, Colorado to the north. But it's getting crazy. It's so bad, folks. It's so bad right now that the director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has just spoken about this. Yes, Tren De Aragua, Venezuelan gang, is now in Tennessee. They're in some states you couldn't even imagine. And they continue to spread. It's almost like sleeper cells. And it's spreading like a cancer to communities near you. I got a map right here. I want to show you the map that they're putting out. This is the mainstream media putting out. And some of the mainstream media, they got some actual journalists that actually are boots on the ground journalists that know a lot about this stuff. Jenny Tier, I don't know if you ever listened to her reports. She works with the New York Post. I personally seen her down there in Eagle Pass, covering these cases. She's very smart. She did a report recently on Tren De Aragua. Jorge Ventura works for News Nation. He's boots on the ground. So some of these journalists that are actually at the ground are reporting the truth. through media, through mainstream media. So the media does get this right sometimes. In this particular case, you know, these good journalists that actually see firsthand on what's going on. Of course, you're going to get some journalists that say, no, nothing to see here, no problem, and everything like that. But there's actually some good journalists out there that actually cover this type of topic extensively. Tren De Aragua. So let's talk. Where are they? Where are they, folks? Come on in. We're going to talk. They are in numerous states. Now they're reporting they have spread to 16 states. Look at this, folks. And these are some states you wouldn't even think of. Of course, we would think, oh, yeah, California, yes. Colorado, yes. New York, yes. Chicago, Illinois, yes. But guess what, folks? Now we have Nevada, Montana, Wyoming, Texas, yes. Louisiana, Florida. And I'm a little scared in Florida because I live in Florida. I haven't seen any Tren De Aragua in Florida yet, though I do believe that a lot of these migrant burglary rings are connected to them in some way that is happening in Florida. Remains to be seen if authorities start arresting. We put faith and trust in our Florida sheriffs. Georgia, Wisconsin, Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, and there was just a report. I'm going to share two reports. And guess what? We should add Utah to the mix. We also have New Jersey, 16. Magnolia was informing me that it could be 22 states. But I have a report that there was just a recent shooting in Utah connected to Tren De Aragua. So we might want to add Utah to the list here. Utah is not on there, but 16 states and growing, all coming up through the southern border. Mostly, now remember, Laken Riley's killer, it was revealed in court the other day that Laken Riley's killer was a confirmed member of Tren De Aragua. A lot of them are coming in through Eagle Pass area here, Del Rio, sometimes Brownsville. A lot come through this area right here, right on the corner of New Mexico and Texas, El Paso, Santa Teresa, that particular area. Yes, Wyoming. Yes, Wyoming friends. I don't know where they would go. Where do they go? To Casper, Wyoming? Where do they go? Where are the cities in Wyoming? Cheyenne, Casper, where are they going? Are they going? What are they doing? It seems like a lot of these migrant gangs with Tren De Aragua seem to navigate towards cities. Cities, folks. Cities. So who is Tren De Aragua? We're going to start out. I'm going to play this clip, a narration by Jenny Terre with the New York Post. She talks about Tren De Aragua. She's been bringing public awareness to the Tren De Aragua. Aurora's the same group of people that have been taking over the apartment complexes in Aurora, but now they're spreading. Somebody just said in the chat, Gene, possible stabbing here in Vegas linked to Tren De Aragua. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. See what I'm saying? These people are violent, and they do things by all means necessary. Criminal activity, I can't even explain how many crimes these people are accused of killing. The most egregious of the egregious crimes out there that these individuals are involved with. So let's start out with this intro right here and get you familiar a little bit with Tren De Aragua, because we're going to be paying attention. We're going to see where else this gang spreads, and we're also going to see what happens after January 20th, 2025. January 20th, 2025, mark it on your calendars, because according to the incoming Trump administration, January 20th, 2025 is a day of reckoning when it comes to the migrants in the country illegally, the criminal migrants. It's a day where Trump administration, border czar Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller, those people say that they're going to conduct the biggest mass deportation in U.S. history, which means I believe they're going to go after the migrant gangs and criminals first. There's like 700,000 they report that have already gotten orders to be removed from the country, yet they're just hiding in the shadows, blending into the cities. And they haven't been found or caught yet, but ICE vows to go get these people, which would most 100% be Tren De Aragua, for sure.
The Venezuelan gang, known as Tren De Aragua, that has been carrying out crimes across the country, has made its way into at least 16 U.S. states. That's according to a leaked Department of Homeland Security memo that we obtained at the Post. Now, this memo outlines how the gang, while growing in size in the United States through the waves of illegal migrants crossing the border, especially the large waves of Venezuelans, they've brought in numerous different crimes, and they've also increased the severity of those crimes. Now, the newest states to see the expansion of Tren De Aragua are Wyoming, Washington, D.C., a territory, Virginia, as well as Montana. Now, we spoke with the sheriff of Laramie County, who says that while he doesn't believe that the gang has necessarily taken over Wyoming, he does have a suspected member of the gang in his jail that he says was just passing through the state. The gang is also increasing its theft and fraud operations in the United States. In one case in Florida, a gang member allegedly stole $118,000 in funds from a bank and was able to wire that money to accounts in Venezuela before the bank could detect the fraud. In Fairfax County, Virginia, cops in 2023 arrested 3 suspected gang members for a shoplifting incident. Those individuals all had tattoos that are tied to the gang. One presented a fake Venezuelan ID. While the gang is expanding its reach across nearly half of America's population, the incoming Trump administration says it's ready to crack down on their operations. There are some major hindrances to that, however, including sanctuary jurisdictions where the gang tends to go to, places like Chicago, New York City, other areas of the country that bar immigration enforcement officers and the federal government from working with their local officers. On top of that, there's also the fact that the Maduro regime in Venezuela does not accept deportation flights from the United States, making it difficult to remove these individuals from the United States. Many of these migrant gang members have become very used to the revolving door of justice in sanctuary cities like New York City. They have created different crime syndicates where they've committed moped snatch and grab robberies. They've also created a gun smuggling network into migrant shelters and are said to be operating sex trafficking schemes on Roosevelt Avenue.
For more stories like these, be sure to subscribe to the new...
She's a good journalist. She was, I've seen her numerous times at the border. So, you know, she's talking truth. You know what's crazy about this Venezuelan gang? One thing she said that is definitely worth noting. The Maduro administration there in Venezuela will not accept deportation planes back to his country from America. So then it begs the question here, folks. Where does these migrant Venezuelan gangs, Tren De Aragua, go if they get deported? Because if they come from Venezuela and they got all released out of the prisons there, specifically to probably come to the United States to wreak havoc here, well, okay, you conduct the largest mass deportation in U.S. history and you round them up, but if Venezuela does not accept the planes back, where do you put them? Where do you put them? Because obviously Venezuela does not want them back. Notice the crime in Venezuela has dropped significantly after the jails have been released. Meanwhile, crime in cities continue to uptick. Don't let the politicians tell you these weird stats that saying that crime is low and everything like that. I personally think they don't count the migrant crime in their statistics. That's my belief. So they kind of obscure the numbers and manipulate the numbers a little bit. But it's no secret. We've been seeing this gang and just images. But, you know, when we see these images, understand this, folks. A lot of these images that we're seeing out of New York with the crazy violence and again, the perch snatchings and just weird, like just the other day, we talked about this dude, this migrant Venezuelan gang member breaking into Alvin Bragg's assistant in the DA's office and doing, you know, sex acts inside this individual's apartments. You know, it's just sick. It's sick that, you know, the things that we're hearing that these individuals do, they got no humanity here, disregard of human life, animals, savages, whatever you want to call them. but they're spreading. But how do we stop it? And what is going on? Now, the TBI, we'll talk first state. We'll go with the first state here. We'll go the first state, Tennessee. Because Tennessee, hello, Tennessee, wake up. Good morning, my Tennessee friends. Good morning. I love this great state of Tennessee. You know, I was actually thinking of buying some land in Tennessee, in eastern Tennessee. Well, hello, Nashville friends. Hello, Memphis friends. Hello, my Tennessee friends out there. I'm sure a lot of people in the chat are from Tennessee or know somebody. They're spreading. And according to the TBI director, they're in Tennessee now. Marsha Blackburn, the senator, has spoken out. They're in Tennessee. So we're going to bring public awareness to Tennessee so our Tennessee residents can wake up and know what is in their community. Possibly. Memphis. I'm thinking Memphis. Memphis is out, like, off the chain anyway. Memphis is crazy. Memphis, you know, going through Memphis, I wouldn't even want to walk the streets. You know, when I was covering one of these cases, the Sebastian Rogers cases, you know, downtown Memphis, I was totally paranoid about walking even the streets down there. It was so bad. Oh, Magnolia sent me a list. Magnolia sent me a list here. These are, well, we'll do the list first. Let me get the list out here because Magnolia sent me a list of Tren De Aragua. Look at these areas. This is where Tren De Aragua is at. Cochise, Arizona. Not surprising. Godaway area. That's Bisbee and Naco, Arizona. That's eastern Arizona. They just coming through. Me and Magnolia have been there. We've made numerous videos there. We've talked to numerous farmers there and ranchers that say that these like sleeper cells dressed in all black would, you know, scale the fences and run through their fields. Run through their fields. And there's been an significant upcrease in the police chases all around that area and these gang members getting arrested. You know, they'll be dressed in camouflage and backpacks, camouflage, smuggling fentanyl and types of illegal activities. And they want to get away. They want to get away. These are individuals who do not want to get caught. So Cochise County, Aurora, no secret about Aurora. We've heard about Aurora, Colorado. 40,000 migrants have gotten into Denver since 2022. A lot of them make their way to Aurora, which is a suburb of Denver. Texas, Dallas, San Antonio, El Paso, Houston. Not surprising about Houston. Jocelyn Nungaray murders, right? San Antonio, the Migrant Resource Center on San Pedro. El Paso, of course. I got a clip of El Paso. I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. Dallas, a little shocked by Dallas. Louisiana, I'm a little shocked by Louisiana here. Where in Louisiana? Are we talking about New Orleans? Florida? Florida is a big state. Not surprising that, you know, Florida, particularly in, you know, South Florida and Central Florida is a Hispanic community. They probably could blend in. Georgia, Laken Riley case. You know, we've been discussing a lot about Georgia in reference to North Georgia with a lot of these areas there in Northeast Georgia, where there seem like there are sanctuary communities. Chicago, not surprising. Now, this is surprising to me. Do we got Tren De Aragua in Wisconsin? Do we have them in Wisconsin? I'll have to look more like this. Someone just in the chat was saying earlier there was a shooting in Las Vegas connected to Tren De Aragua. There you go. Maryland, Silver Springs, the Beltway of D.C., not surprising. Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut, probably not surprising to me. Indianapolis, that seems a little surprising to me, but not, because Indianapolis is a city. It's a big city in the heartland. Yeah. New Jersey. Yes, New Jersey. We've been seeing indictments about burglary rings connected to Tren De Aragua that have been arrested in New Jersey. Not surprising about Los Angeles. Not surprising about Washington, D.C. Not surprising about New York and or New York State. And then, as you see, the recent updates here just a few days ago, Tennessee, Utah, Montana, Virginia, North Carolina, Wyoming. So this Magnolia is listing 22 states here, or 22 communities here. So it might be actually 22. So, you know, the media reports are putting 16, but again, numbers are indicating possibly 22. So more than 16 states. Basically half the population, covering half the population that these individuals are scattered across the place, all over the place. But who are they? Who are they? So we're going to start out with this news report here by News Nation, talking about Tren De Aragua in Tennessee. We're going to focus on Tennessee. We're going to listen to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation Director. We're going to listen to Marsha Blackburn, and we're going to listen to this report right here. Let's talk about Tren De Aragua in Tennessee.
Officials are sounding the alarm after the violent gang has now been found operating in the state of Tennessee. News Nation border correspondent Jorge Ventura joining us live from San Antonio with more. Jorge.
Well, Natasha, according to the director of Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, the violent gang Tren De Aragua is now active throughout the state. State authorities are warning residents that the gang is active in all of Tennessee's major cities and are running human trafficking operations. State authorities also say that once the gang appears, violence and danger are soon to follow.
The other piece is that they are very violent toward policing. They're violent toward law enforcement, and so they will fight and they will attack police. They have no respect for law enforcement.
Tennessee authorities say they are monitoring the group, which has a history of violence, including a recent incident where they shot a cartel member 31 times in broad daylight on video and posted to social media. News Nation did recently obtain a 7-page intel document on TDA sent to Border Patrol agents. This is the first comprehensive document they received about the gang. Key findings on the document on this gang confirm that the gang is engaging in low-level fraud and theft and sending those funds back to South America. They continue to expand in the United States. It also says a major obstacle to stopping TDA is determining which criminals are and aren't affiliated with the gang as the gang blends in with the millions of Venezuelans that recently crossed illegally into the U.S. And earlier this year, the Biden administration did designate TDA as a transnational criminal organization. And here I am in San Antonio, Texas. Texas state troopers have also developed task force to target the gang's presence here in the Lone Star State, Natasha.
We appreciate that information. Jorge Ventura with that live report from San
He's a good
Antonio
reporter
tonight.
too. I've seen him on Eagle Pass, and he does great, phenomenal work too. So he's sharing, in Tennessee. It's spreading. The TBI director has spoken about this. Tren De Aragua, TDA. I believe Texas labeled them a terrorist group. So even the Biden administration is acknowledging that this group has major problems. But hey, they were let in. They were all let in. Come on in. That's what the Biden administration said to TDA. Come on in, TDA. Come on in, Islamic terrorists. Come on in, anyone from anywhere. Come on in. And this is what's happening now. Spreading. It's getting bad, folks. It's getting bad. Please, Tennessee residents, stay vigilant in your cities right now until, maybe January 20th on, they'll crack down, but who knows? Also, Tren De Aragua, there was reports that they gotten the green light to actually fight back against law enforcement or Border Patrol or anyone that tries to stop their operations. So be very mindful and vigilant. I'm a little scared about covering the border nowadays, about going back down there unarmed. I mean, these people could be watching JLR investigating. We want his head. You got to be very careful here, exposing these criminal enterprises. We'll listen to Marsha Blackburn first, and then we'll listen to the TBI director. She talks. This is the senator. This is the United States senator from Tennessee acknowledging about TDA in her state.
Now, Senator Marsha Blackburn, Republican from the great state of Tennessee, joins me now. Madam Senator, what do you know about Tren De Aragua operating in your state? What exactly are they up to?
What we know is this is a really bad gang. They have come out of the prisons in Venezuela, just as the reporter was saying. And we know that they are teaming up. They're participating in human trafficking in Tennessee. We know the TBI has already arrested 2 members of this gang, and they're beginning to provide information to all the local law enforcement, so they are ready to move forward. Director Roush at the TBI is on this. He is working with federal authorities. They're seeking more information, and Stuart, this is one of the reasons we need to pass the CLEAR Act, my legislation that allows local law enforcement, when they apprehend someone who is in the country illegally, they can detain them, and then ICE has to deport them and get them out of the country, out of our communities, and stop this violent crimes that are taking place. We've got 55,000 known criminal illegal aliens the Biden administration has let in the country, and 2,200 gang members. And as we know, they don't stay on the border. They're now all across the country. And as you said, 16 states now have this violent gang that is active in their states.
Yep. You and your Democrat colleague, Jackie Rosen, you're working on legislation to ban migrants with ties to Hamas, ban them from entering the United States. How do you prove they're tied to Hamas?
One of the ways you do it is on social media. Interestingly enough, some of these UNRWA employees that are tied to Hamas, they actually have been on social media. So proper vetting and looking at what these individuals have had to say, that is the way that you prohibit them from coming into the United States.
Okay. Another one for you, Madam Senator. The FEMA employee who ordered workers to deny relief to residents.
Okay, so she's going on. We're taking off topic. I wanted to play those two things specifically about Tren De Aragua. She's probably going to talk about other policies and whatnot, but she's speaking truth. She's literally speaking truth. She understands Marsha Blackburn. She understands. She says 2,200 Tren De Araguas. I think it's much, much higher. Gang members, considering the millions that have crossed into the United States illegally on the southern border. Where are all these people? Who are they? Who are these Tren De Araguas? And why Tennessee? Are they ordered from their shot callers to go to certain communities to exploit and terrorize and recruit? Remember, folks, these people are coming in and then they're recruiting. They're probably recruiting kind of like how, back in 9/11 era where they were saying Al-Qaeda was all over the place and some Al-Qaeda sympathizers in the United States. This is what these people probably do. They probably go into these cities and start recruiting the American-born people and try to recruit them into their gang. So the gang probably spreads even more. And if it doesn't get, sleeper cells. Exactly, sleeper cells. Two things I want to share. This is a great, if you want to know about Tren De Aragua, this is a fairly new Twitter account that I'm following now, but they post every day almost about Tren De Aragua, and it's called Tren De Aragua Tracker. And a Tren De Aragua Tracker on Twitter. This is a really, really good account. This account, it was established in September 2024 because, again, this is Americans are just waking up to this in the last 6 months, like myself. 6 months prior, I really didn't know much about Tren De Aragua until, there has been incidents, and then I'm trying to understand who are these people? Who are these people? And it's a Venezuelan gang. But this account has a lot of good information about, all types of, things regarding Tren De Aragua. So this is a strongly recommended Twitter account to follow if you want to know about Tren De Aragua. I definitely am following that account. So let's listen one more to the TBI in the director of the TBI, right? The director of the TBI just spoke the other day, last few days. He spoke and he talked about Tren De Aragua and the situation in Tennessee. And then we'll jump to other states and we'll continue to talk about this conversation. Come on in, have a conversation with us. This is scary times we're living in. I can't emphasize the danger enough on this channel in reference to this migrant gang. And they could put up a definitely resistance or know that once January 20th, go into the shadows and go into the underground, or they might just not care. Because again, where are you going to deport them? Where are you going to deport them? Because if Venezuela doesn't take them back, where do you deport them? You think Mexico is going to accept Tren De Aragua? Do you think the United States? Now, that's something maybe the United States government could do to Mexico to stop the people from coming through and tell the Mexican Trump administration could tell the Mexican president, okay, if you're not going to enforce, your own army on the border to stop illegals from coming in, well, we'll just put the Tren De Aragua in a plane and send them to Mexico City. We'll just drop them off in the middle of Mexico somewhere and let you deal with them. You understand? Some people are saying Gitmo. Some people are saying Gitmo, and that could be a possibility too. You never know. I mean, it seems like the Trump administration's, ways of thinking nowadays is no foreign wars. And, I don't know if they're going to have problems with Islamic terrorists like they did back in the day, Al-Qaeda and ISIS and all of them. But, hey, Gitmo's there. Gitmo's there, right? Send them to Gitmo. Send them to Gitmo. I mean, he's pretty much, Trump has called out, pretty much said it on his campaign. If you ever listen to his rallies, and I watch his rallies once in a while, he listens and says that, he wants to impose the death penalty on anybody that crosses in the United States illegally that commits a murder on any U.S. citizen. That would apply to Tren De Aragua for sure. So let's listen to the TBI director, folks. This is the go-to channel. We take a deeper dive. We do a little bit more investigating than just what the media puts out there. We put it all together. We analyze this, understand this. You'll learn a lot on this channel. So welcome aboard. Come on in. Come on in. So this is the TBI director speaking just the other day about what's going on in Tennessee.
I think the key piece is that we are concerned. It is. I don't think we're at the point of everyone having to watch outside their homes of this infiltration, but it is a level of concern to policing that this group is active. They are in Tennessee. Primarily, right now, we see them engaged in human trafficking, and those operations are happening in each of our large cities in Tennessee. The alarm has been sounded only to raise awareness and understanding that they are here. What we also have learned is through our contacts and our communications with our partners at other states as well as federal and on the local level is that they have a pathway of violence, and we want people to be aware of that. And we want you to know that policing is looking out, and we are aware. And so we're watching very closely that these individuals will move from human trafficking and they move into the organized retail crime theft path. And then from there, they move into the drug path. We know that they are taking on the cartels. They haven't held back in letting cartels know that they will take them on, and they will battle for the drug trafficking in communities. And so we know that happens, and we know that they are a very violent group of individuals. They have shown their violence in areas throughout the country, specifically handling and addressing turf that they believe that they should own. The other piece is that they are very violent toward policing. They're violent toward law enforcement, and so they will fight and they will attack police. They have no respect for law enforcement, and that's an understanding as well. We want to make sure that our partners throughout the state in policing know that, and they're prepared for those encounters. We are sending out information through our law enforcement sensitive networks to our policing organizations so that they are aware of who these folks are, how to identify them, and then how to approach and address them. There are a number of other concerns that we continue to express with our policing partners, but what I want to make sure that the public knows is that we are aware, we are watching them, we are tracking those that we know that are here, and we also want the public to be diligent as always and paying attention in their communities for signs of things like human trafficking. And for more information on that, we have that data available, what to look for and how to spot potential victims of trafficking or situations of trafficking so that you can notify us and let us know so that we can immediately respond and address these situations. Yeah, so we understand that many of our partners are being asked questions about this gang and what they're seeing in their communities, and many of those law enforcement officials, those policing officials, they haven't seen what we know is there, and that is because of the complexity of intelligence gathering. We at the TBI are the lead agency on human trafficking in the state of Tennessee, and so many of our operations are engaged with these types of individuals, and so these are things that our local agencies may not get engaged in. They may not have an understanding of as much as we do because of our operations. And we also are tied into networks because of our fusion engagement, the fusion center engagement, because of those networks, we have additional intelligence information from our federal partners, as well as other state and local entities. And so through those engagements is how we know about this information, and we share the information with law enforcement that is particular and specific when we have it and when we can. And so those agencies may not be able to tell you what is going on directly in their community that we might know because they aren't exposed to it at this level yet. They will get information. We will provide information, especially if we have specific targeted information that we can provide to them. But there are times where they may be unaware of actors that may be moving in and out of their area that we are tracking. And so that's not uncommon for a police executive to not be aware of that type of detail in their community. And so it's not that they are asleep at the wheel. It's not that they don't. They're not doing their due diligence of keeping their community safe. It's that there are these actors who move throughout our arenas, our areas, that may not stay there, but they are moving through and doing operations in their communities. And we become aware of those because we are tracking them from other areas. This issue isn't just a Tennessee issue. As a matter of fact, in our recent meetings in Boston with the Association of State Criminal Investigative Agencies, or ASHA, we lead the Human Trafficking Committee with that organization. And during the committee hearing and the committee meeting there in Boston, all of our partners were telling us about their experiences, specifically with TDA throughout the nation. And so this is not a unique situation that Tennessee is experiencing. However, what I can say is what we saw was, when we first came upon them, that was the first we had seen of them in Tennessee, and then they disappeared after we had taken a couple of those individuals into custody. The organization, as we knew them, had left Tennessee. Now the intelligence we have and the information that we gather is that they are back, and that's why we're raising the information now, because we know they have returned. What we don't want to happen is to see them move into those next phases. We want to stop them where they are right now, and that's why we're raising the issue.
TDA. That was the director of the TBI. TBA. TDA. Tren De Aragua. They're in Tennessee. Notice he was talking about Boston, because Boston has a big problem too. But as the governor, no problems there in Boston. No problems with Michelle Wu, the mayor of Boston, and Healy, the Annette, thank you for the gifted membership. One lucky person is now a member of JLR Investigates. Welcome to the JLR Army as we expose Tren De Aragua and cover the border migrant crisis. But going back to Massachusetts, Massachusetts has a lot of Tren De Araguas, a lot. But the Massachusetts governor wants to turn a blind eye, Healy, and Michelle Wu, the mayor. Nothing to see here, right? Well, yeah. Look at the reports coming out of, ICE, the people that they're arresting lately. It's sick. But Tren De Aragua, a Venezuelan gang. Now, I think I've encountered some Tren De Aragua here. I'm going to play a clip. I don't know if you've seen this before, but me was walking around the streets of El Paso, Texas. And when I was walking around El Paso, Texas, I was at the church there, similar to the Annunciation House, which Ken Paxton is suing, by the way, for human smuggling, right? Human trafficking, just like what the TBI director said is an issue with Tren De Aragua with the human trafficking. El Paso has I personally think that more Tren De Aragua gang members enter the U.S. through El Paso than any other place in the United States. They come through El Paso, and these NGOs are helping facilitate their journey. Now, when I was down there in El Paso, I went to a street. Now, I covered the border a lot of the borders, and I've seen people come across. But what I've seen in El Paso kind of puts chills down my spine. And I say kind of, it did. The people that I saw in front of my eyes, I could see that they're going to end up somewhere, and they're probably going to end up somewhere doing some very bad things to Americans. And I want to show you this clip just to remind you that, you know, I believe I've seen it myself. Look at this right here.
Jonathan Lee Riches investigates. I am covering the border migrant crisis. I am at Sacred Heart Church, downtown El Paso, and this is a place that helps migrants who crossed into the United States illegally. It's an NGO. Churches, like Catholic Charities, help migrants get to their destination, wherever they're going to end up going. Migrants, people, whatever you want to call the individuals that cross into the United States illegally. But there's a lot out here. We're going to take a walk out here. We are going to take a walk and go down here and see what is going on at Sacred Heart. Let's see what's going on. See the wristbands? Wristbands. 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 We're going on the wristbands. Wristband.
They didn't want me filming.
Wristband. Wristbands. Kind of scary, folks. Kind of scary right there. They're all looking at me. Some didn't want to be filmed. What in the world is going on here at El Paso? Downtown El Paso, Sacred Heart Church. Wow, see, they're all out there. Wristbands, men. Lots and lots of men that crossed into the United States illegally. I am here in El Paso. Subscribe to the channel, like, hit the notification button. I didn't want to stop and talk because it looked a little bit scary to me. But what's your thoughts? They're going to end up in a city near you. And you know, we've been hearing, like Laken Riley's person, Avira Diego, they came out of El Paso. They entered the United States illegally, and they probably came there or the Annunciation House.
Yeah, Laken Riley's killer probably, and the brother, probably were right there at that spot. That is a major spot. Sometimes there's thousands standing in front of that Sacred Heart Church or the Annunciation House. Yeah, I walked through there, but I could tell you, I witnessed a lot of young men, Venezuelans. Yes, you can share the video. Actually, I have the video up on one of my timelines down the line. Just put in El Paso, Texas, and you will see it. El Paso's wild. I do believe it's the #1 destination when it comes to Tren De Aragua. You know, I can't say that 100% fact, but it's just my belief. So it'd be interesting to know, you know, the Tren De Araguas, where they're entering into America at. Or they could be spread out all over the place. I'm sure Eagle Pass and Del Rio is another destination. I'm not so sure about Tren De Aragua making their way to like Arizona and California. I think that's a different type of groups of people. More California's more Middle Eastern, Chinese, Turkey, Middle Eastern. Arizona's a lot of Africans from Africa. But Tren De Aragua, I believe it's like El Paso, Santa Teresa, Sunland Park, right on the New Mexico side too, coming across. And remember, Rachel Morin's killer came through the country numerous times, and then he finally made it through on his, like, what was it, like his fourth time or third or fourth time, and he came through Santa Teresa, New Mexico, which is right next to El Paso. So it's not even far from El Paso. So a lot of these migrants here, if they want to get, if they can't get into El Paso because of the Texas National Guard fighting back, whatever like that, they just go about 10 miles up the road around the mountain and go in there at Santa Teresa, Sunland Park area. And then you can go right in New Mexico. Come on in. New Mexico, they're not stopping it. There's no the wire all along the border and everything like that. Pretty wild stuff. Here's what I want to share, though, because here's a letter apparently by members of Congress warning, sending to the Biden administration just the other day about the Venezuelan gang Tren De Aragua. And they're spreading. And they want to know more information about Tren De Aragua. Tren De Aragua. They've been coming through for the last few years and now really creating havoc. And when you hear like human trafficking, it's scary stuff. And they're probably getting into the petty crimes and the credit card frauds and the stealing from jewelry stores and who knows what else, drugs, violence. So this was a letter dated November 20th, just a couple days ago, and it's by numerous members of Congress, and it says, "Dear President Biden, we write to you today to express our deep and growing concern regarding your administration's refusal to hold Venezuela accountable for unacceptable delays in the removal process of illegal immigrants. These delays, sometimes indefinite, not only give the appearance that a foreign nation is being allowed to dictate the enforcement of U.S. immigration law, but also put our communities at risk. It has come to our attention that local law enforcement in Clinton County, Missouri, conducted a traffic stop on October 25th, 2024, and identified two Venezuelan nationals. Department of Homeland Security Investigations personnel confirmed to local law enforcement that one of these individuals was a member of the dangerous Tren De Aragua gang, and another was a presumed member. One of these individuals was apprehended in a September 2023 and is currently awaiting immigration proceedings. So he's already apprehended last year, and he was still out on the streets. While the other has been issued a final order of removal and is subject to mandatory detention. Despite the threat these individuals pose to the citizens of Missouri, ICE personnel contacted local law enforcement personnel and advised that they release the individuals in question because Venezuela refused to accept them. This is not an isolated incident. Of the 334,914 Venezuelan nationals encountered by Border Patrol in the fiscal year of 2023, look at that number, folks. 334,914 Venezuelan nationals been encountered by Border Patrol in 2023. Only 834 were removed by ICE. Look at that number, folks. Of the 334,000 Venezuelan nationals in just 2023, only 834 of the 334,000 have been removed by ICE. That's a problem, folks. The United States Department of Treasury has identified Tren De Aragua as an escalating threat to the American communities that engages in diverse criminal activities such as human smuggling, trafficking, gender-based violence, money laundering, and illicit drug trafficking. Treasury declared Tren De Aragua a transnational criminal organization on July 11, 2024, imposing sanctions on the organization. Despite identifying Tren De Aragua as a deadly criminal threat, your administration reportedly directed local law enforcement in Missouri to release a known member of this organization due to Venezuelans' refusal to cooperate with the deportation process. This doesn't just give the appearance that your administration is allowing Venezuela to dictate U.S. immigration policy. It poses a grave threat to our communities in Missouri and across the United States. Our constituents deserve and demand answers regarding this concerning disregard for their safety and security. To that end, we ask for prompt and transparent responses to the following questions. Why did ICE advise local law enforcement in Clinton County, Missouri to release one confirmed and presumed member of Tren De Aragua on October 25th, 2024, just a few weeks ago, last month, 1 month ago? What steps has your administration taken to pressure Venezuela to cooperate on the deportation of dangerous gang members present in the United States illegally? If Venezuela continues to refuse to cooperate on deportation cases, what actions will you take to keep dangerous gang members off the streets? How many identified Tren De Aragua members are present in the United States illegally that have not yet been deported? In addition, we urge you to immediately resume the Remain in Mexico policy to ensure that dangerous gang members are not paroled into our communities. Thank you for your attention on this matter. Sam Graves, Member of Congress. United States Senator Eric Schmidt. Ann Wagner. I guess these are Senator Josh Hawley. I guess these are individuals from Missouri. So, out of 334,000 Venezuelans that Border Patrol processed in 2023, 334,000 Venezuelans in just 2023. Remember, 2022, 2021, 2024. We don't know what those numbers are. Of the 334,000, what, 800? Only 800 have been deported? Are you kidding me? Why? Well, looky, folks. It's because Venezuelan, the president, won't accept flights. Back, deportation flights. Therefore, ICE is telling local law enforcement, particularly in Missouri here, and probably most likely in other communities, when they detain and catch someone that is from Venezuela, a migrant, regardless if they're Tren De Aragua or just Venezuelan, nothing happens to them. They just, if they didn't commit a crime, you just release them. If they commit a petty crime, they sit in jail a couple days and get released. 800 people out of 334,000. What's the percentage of that? That's less than 1%. Right? How many? What is that? What's the percentage of 800 out of 334,000? Only 800 have been deported. Where do the 800 go? Scary stuff, folks. You know, we're preaching stuff that you probably have not been aware of on JLR Investigates when it comes to the border migrant crisis. This is crazy. But it's also spreading, folks. It's spreading to not just Tennessee. You just saw Missouri. We're talking about other states. I'll share this news report just in the last few days about other crimes committed across the country. Look at this. Fairfax County, Virginia.
Well, 7 News covering Fairfax County now, where suspected members of a violent Venezuelan gang considered more powerful than police in South America have reportedly arrived. Our Tom Rousey investigated and finds out what they're accused of already doing here in Tysons.
Back in summer 2023, 3 men allegedly came here to the Tysons Galleria and committed grand larceny by stealing from some of the high-end stores. Now, that wouldn't normally make the news, but it is now making the news because of what we've recently learned about those 3 suspects and their alleged ties to a violent Venezuelan gang. According to court records, these 3 men in their 20s came down from New York and were captured by Fairfax County Police with $9,000 of stolen merchandise in their car. Court records list a witness at the Neiman Marcus at the Tysons Galleria, as well as another witness at the Gucci store at that same high-end mall. Those witnesses were there as the men allegedly committed grand larceny. Tuesday, Fairfax County Police Chief Kevin Davis said on 7 News, the men have suspected ties to a violent Venezuelan gang named TDA for Tren De Aragua.
They weren't necessarily committing traditional gang-related crimes, extortion, aggravated assault, robberies, but they were stealing.
Tren De Aragua operated out of this Venezuelan prison for years. The gang basically ran things to the point where it installed a swimming pool and even restaurants at the prison. The gang is considered more powerful than police in Venezuela, and it has made its way to the United States, where alleged members have committed violence, such as shooting at police officers in New York City. So far in our area,
we're not seeing any violence associated with them yet. We want to keep it that way.
This week, the New York Post reported it had obtained a memo that specifically warns police in Virginia that the gang has come there and also has members living in D.C. The memo says the gang was allegedly connected to immigrants exploited into forced labor in, quote, Northwest Virginia. Now, as for the 3 suspected of stealing in Fairfax County, court records show all 3 had previous charges in New York, and all 3 were released in Virginia and then either didn't show up to court or violated pretrial release terms, and they are all listed as fugitives. In Tyson's, Tom Rousey, 7 News.
And you can see our full interview with Fairfax Police Chief Kevin Davis on YouTube by scanning the QR code that's on your screen right now. It's a wide-ranging conversation from his gang unit's crackdown to how you can help the county fight crime. 7 News has reached out, by the way, to Northern Virginia and D.C. police departments to see if they've also encountered Southern American gangs. We are awaiting several responses, but so far, Prince William and Arlington County say they've made no contact with the gang.
Yeah, some might be very quiet about it, but notice in that particular report, they said they came down from New York. They came down from New York. It seems like New York, these cities, they go to these cities, Denver, New York, Chicago, and then work their way. What did we hear in the Laken Riley trial? What did we hear in the Laken Riley trial about Laken Riley's killer? He got bussed down. Did he get bussed or flown? He came from New York on a government, paid for by the government. It's pretty sick. Tren De Aragua. So you just heard of report. Flu. People say flu. Flew. At what cost of the taxpayers? Did he get first class? This is scary, folks. Now listen to this. Utah. Let's talk about Utah because I have a report here out of Utah with Tren De Aragua.
New tonight after questions from 2 News, Harriman police now confirm a shooting was linked to the Venezuelan gang known as Tren De Aragua. It's our top story tonight on 2 News at 6. I'm Mark Cabell.
And I'm Heidi Hatch. The acknowledgement also follows an exclusive 2 News interview in which a top state investigator said the Venezuelan gang is here in Utah. Brian is live at the Salt Lake County Jail tonight. And Brian, several defendants in the Harriman case are being held there.
Accusations against them include shooting and injuring a person, aggravated assault, and making threats. The suspects said to be linked to the transnational criminal enterprise, and the U.S. government is offering millions to try to capture its leaders. A September shooting and clash in Harriman left at least 1 person hurt and sent a car through a fence.
Definitely based off of some of the information coming from the investigation that there's those trends, tactics, and procedures that are consistent with that criminal organization.
Captain Tanner Jensen runs the Public Safety Statewide Information and Analysis Center, now tracking Tren De Aragua's growth. What kind of crimes?
Largely, we're looking at retail theft, burglary, drug distribution, sextortion, extortion, fraud.
Perhaps most horrifying, he says Tren De Aragua's smuggling train takes girls from south of the border and forces them into prostitution here.
If they bring them here, there's a fee that once they get here, they have to work off their fee, and that takes years to do.
So the whole pipeline from Venezuela all the way to Utah for these girls is controlled by this gang.
Yeah, and that's a trend and a tactic that we've seen here in Utah and we've seen nationally, that forced labor.
Much of the crime by Tren De Aragua, according to Captain Jensen, is gang on gang. Why did it take so long for Harriman police to finally acknowledge that the crime in September is tied to Tren De Aragua? The deputy chief told me today, among other things, because of the complexity of the investigation. Live at the jail, Brian Malahi, KUTV 2 News.
No, it's law enforcement are not aware of Tren De Aragua. That's it. And finally, people are starting to become awake. And law enforcement's probably getting these arrests of these crazy individuals only to realize that they get released, or they're from Venezuela and get released and don't come to their court date or put the pieces together based off, seeing exactly what's going on. Because I think the government is very tight-lipped about Tren De Aragua. Now law enforcement is starting to piece this all together all across the country and realize, oh my God, we have Tren De Aragua in our communities. That particular case was talking about violence and also sex trafficking of females coming up to Utah. And Utah wasn't on that map that we showed. Magnolia showed us 22 states. A lot of the politicians are saying 16 states. It could very well be 22 states, folks, where this is going on. I'm going to get Magnolia in the chat and talk a little bit, get her take on the situation. Tren De Aragua, that's the discussion this morning. The violent Venezuelan gang. We're going to keep monitoring these individuals and keep monitoring what pops up and where they're at. We might add to all 50 states before January 20th and even afterward. Because I don't know if we're at the point of return here, because they could breed. Come on in the chat, Magnolia. Come talk to me. She didn't answer the first time. Where's Magnolia? Wake up, wake up, wake up. Good morning, Magnolia.
Hello, everybody.
Tren De Aragua. So 22 states, Magnolia, possibly?
Yeah, we went over a lot of the different states. So I think a lot of the reporting that came out last week was 16, but it's actually up to 22 now. Because like you mentioned, there's also Tennessee, Utah, Montana, Virginia, North Carolina, Wyoming. And that adds to the list of Arizona, Colorado, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Wisconsin, Nevada, Maryland, Connecticut, Indiana, New Jersey, California, DC, and New York.
Whew.
Massive.
So, remember we were down in El Paso. Remember the video I just showed, and like we were making a lot of other videos and walking around there. I mean, what's your thoughts about El Paso? Do you think Tren De Aragua goes right through there, and a lot of those people that we've seen down there are probably part of Tren De Aragua or sympathizers or in that type of clique?
Yeah, I mean, that particular area that you showed over there by Sacred Heart, I would say out of all the places along the border, as far as migrant centers, quote unquote migrant centers that we've seen, that one was by far the scariest. It was so scary, like you didn't even want to be out of the car. You literally were out of the car long enough to make that video, and you got right back in the car, and we were like, we got to get out of here. It was all the men, it was just all men, like in their 20s, it looked like. And they just they all looked scary and like they were up to something. And yeah, I would say by far that is probably the biggest hot spot where they're coming in.
Yeah, very, very, very scary. Anything else on Tren De Aragua that I didn't touch that you want to share and put out there?
Yeah, they're just saying that the way they operate this, a lot of this stuff is they operate underground, and they're constantly growing their logistics, resources, weapons. They learn the terrain of wherever they're going. They develop intelligence to tell other people where to come, where to be. So they'll kind of branch out and go to a certain area and sort of establish themselves. And, they'll have this core group that kind of gets to know the area, gets to know how they're going to operate. And then they send for more people to come, and it just grows and grows and grows.
Venezuela not cooperating with the deportation process. So when this mass deportation happens and the government goes after Tren De Aragua like they claim they're going to, I think they're the number one targets. where would they go if Venezuela does not accept them? Can the government still just drop them off on their on their land anyway? Where would the government put them?
Well, I think they're going to have to. I think what they'll probably do with this group, especially, is they'll probably designate them as a terrorist organization and round them up on terrorist charges. And at that point, they can be sent to Gitmo.
You really think that people were saying that in the chat? You really think they could go to Gitmo? You think Gitmo could be open specifically for Tren De Aragua?
Well, they're terrorists, are they not?
I concur.
Isn't that where?
I concur.
Isn't Guantanamo Bay where we send terrorists?
I concur.
So,
what are you going to do with all the other terrorists that are there now? Put them with them?
Where else are you going to send them? I mean, I guess you could send them to certain prisons, but someone was mentioning in the chat that they're from Wisconsin. And there was recently an episode at a Wisconsin prison that seems like it might be tied to these gangs. And according to the list I have, a town called Prairie de Chien in Wisconsin.
Let me get that on the map.
Is a spot where they have set up shop. So, yeah, I mean, Guantanamo Bay is normally where we send terrorists when they're sentenced, imprisoned. So I think that's the plan. I think the plan is to designate them as a terrorist organization, and then when they arrest them, they can charge them with terroristic crimes, and that would make them eligible, I would think, to go to somewhere like Guantanamo Bay.
I'm putting in Prairie de Chien right here just to show you. This is interesting. It's on the Iowa border, which is very, very interesting. This is a little town. It's called Prairie de Chien, and it's on the list as them there, Tren De Aragua there. And if you look, let's go out the map. Oh, I have to actually list it, but there you go. It's right there. Like, it's weird. But you know what's interesting about that? You know, and we talked about, you know what I find interesting about this, Magnolia? And I'm not saying Tren De Aragua is a link whatsoever, but, you know, just the other day, the FBI has acknowledged that burglary ring that has been targeting athletes have been, is tied to, you know, gangs, migrant gangs from South America. They wouldn't say where in South America, but it just makes me interesting because you had Mike Connolly with the Timberwolves, had his home burglarized back in September. Then you had the two athletes here, Kelsey and Mahomes, and then you had Bobby Portis with the Milwaukee Bucks. And I said, look at this area, you know what I mean? And it's just interesting. I just think that's interesting.
Oh, it's the same. Yeah.
It's that same corner area because the FBI has acknowledged the other day that they're investigating all the burglaries of those athletes being linked to a South American burglary ring. It just makes me wonder. Seeing that, you know, Tren De Aragua is based in the center of that mix, all between. I'm not saying Tren De Aragua did that, but it's just interesting.
Well, didn't they say that it was, they basically characterized the burglary ring as a South American gang. Venezuela is located on the northern coast of South America.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, why won't they just say Tren De Aragua? That's what they're talking about when they say South American gang. It seems like they're being a little euphemistic by saying South American gang so they can just make it sound more generalized. But the chances of it being just random people from South America in a gang or in a burglary ring not tied to Tren De Aragua, those chances are very low, I would say.
I mean, look at this. See, this is what I'm talking about. So people know. We discussed this the other day when we did a live about it. NBA warns of possible South American theft rings targeting players. NFL urges stars to secure homes. South American theft rings. It's just interesting, you know, just like what we were discussing down there in Florida with Grady Judd and also the Pinellas County Sheriff talking about the South American theft burglary rings down there, the ones in Jersey, the ones in Arizona now. I think And I said it. And remember, Magnolia, you know, I was like, dude, when I heard about the burglaries with Mahomes and Kelsey, I'm like, and then I heard about, you know, Portis. What did I tell you? It's probably South American burglary rings that are doing this. And we didn't really want to say that because we just, you know, it could be anybody. But now it's out that that's how it's being investigated.
Well, yeah, I mean, we watched the video where it was from Bobby, what's his name?
Portis. Bobby Portis.
Yeah, Bobby Portis. His particular break-in, he had the, I guess it was Ring camera footage. I don't know if it was Ring camera, but it was from his surveillance system. It showed the two burglars standing there on the patio trying to get in. And you could tell by that footage that these were professionals. These were not just random kids, you know, running around trying to break into houses. You could tell they knew what they were doing. They were dressed head to toe. They weren't wearing hazmat suits, but they were head to toe covered. I think they even might have had gloves on. They looked like they knew exactly what they were doing, and this was a precise operation that was about to happen. You could tell it from the video. So, yeah, it's not surprising that they're now coming out and saying that it's a quote-unquote South American gang. But, yeah, I think we know what that means. It's most likely these people we're talking about. And, yeah, it is really interesting that that particular place we showed, Wisconsin, is right there, sort of at the center of where these different robberies occurred.
Yeah, see, it just says here, look, Venezuelan gang member charged in an assault in that community. Prairie, what is it called? Prairie du Chien? How do you say that?
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
So it's they're there. They're there. Why do they choose that community? Because I just Googled a little bit while you were talking about that little community in Wisconsin, Iowa border, smacked in. But there's articles out there dealing with that area with Venezuelan. It's crazy. It's crazy. They're spreading.
Yeah, because the place where wasn't it was Missouri and
Kansas City area.
Yeah, so yeah, if you just look at the map, it's not that far from where this
it's mashed in between.
It's right there.
It's centered basically in between Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Kansas City. It's like right in that triangle area where all those burglary rings are happening, where they're saying that it could be a South American burglary ring. So it's just worth noting. I'm not saying it's connected. It's just will be interesting once this burglary ring gets uncovered with the athletes, who the individuals are.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they won't sweep it under the rug, and hopefully we will actually find out who did this. I don't think they've made any arrests yet, but they've come out and said that this is what they're investigating, a South American gang. Burglary rings. So yeah, and they're in Florida. We did a couple lives about them being in Florida and all this other stuff. So it just seems like they're growing faster than anyone realizes. And I looked it up a minute ago. Someone in the chat said we should have 2 million border agents, and I was like, well, I wonder how many border agents we actually have. And I just looked it up, and it's around 20,000.
20,000. So, you know, there's just
under 20,000. But what's interesting is the number is actually lower now than it was 2 years ago, or 22,000 as of 2022, and now it's down to 19, just under 20.
Oh, that's interesting. Here's something though. I mean, out of the 330,000 migrants from Venezuela that came in from Venezuela in 2023, fiscal year 2023, they're only saying that there's only a few thousand Tren De Aragua. I would say that there's much more. If 330,000 from Venezuela it came in just in 2023, and they're only saying a few thousand Tren De Araguas in this country, I think there's way more than that. considering that
especially
most
if
of,
they're spread out.
especially also that Venezuela released most of their prisons, and that's where most of the people who got released are coming here. It seems like the numbers have to be much, much higher.
Yeah.
We'll just say known, I guess, at this point, because we don't know. We just don't know. Somebody said, JLR, your data is outdated. What do you mean my data is outdated? We'll share the current dated data. So what are we doing? 2024 fiscal year? Because I would assume that probably just as much Venezuelan migrants came in the fiscal year of 2024. But when is the fiscal year of 24? I think it starts in October to October, I believe, in reference to these numbers. I think it's from fall to fall. Okay, so what's the numbers then? Somebody said my numbers are outdated. Tell me the numbers then, because I'm going by what I'm reading here. And they said in 2023, over 300,000 Venezuelan migrants came into the United States. It's a lot of people. I mean, and I think Venezuelans was the majority of the people that cross in of all the countries. I think Venezuelans number one, isn't it? It's up there.
Yeah.
Each year.
I don't know what place they're in, but it's got to be up towards the top for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. But here's another thing I want to share. Interesting, because this clip here is implying that Venezuelan these individuals are Islam. Islam could be a religion in Tren De Aragua. I want to share this because this is coming from Tren De Aragua Tracker, and this is an interesting take here. I'm gonna blow this up right here and share this right here, because the reason being is I want to show something else in the meantime. But let's just blow this up and just share this guy's take here.
A lot of you guys have asked if there's a lot of people from the Islamic religion, Muslims, and from Islam coming in through the south border into Mexico. And the leftist media, they want to deny it. But on top of me, you will see that there's a large quantity of people that they are praying right now.
Okay, so I stand corrected here. He's not just talking about as far as Tren De Aragua. He's just pointing out in general that a lot of people are coming in through the southern border with Islam. And I thought he was, because they put it on Tren De Aragua Tracker, I thought he was talking about Tren De Aragua. But it coincides a little bit because I want to show something else. We have a guy that, individual that we brought onto this channel, Just Jeff from California. He's down there in the southern border. And this is what he posted yesterday on Twitter. I just want to share that because that other guy was talking about people Islamic, and look what he just posted yesterday on Twitter. Found an Islamic prayer rug and prayer tunic next to the border wall where the invaders just crossed. And he posted this, and he posted this, I don't know what this is, but he says he found this yesterday at the border wall. So, yeah.
What is that?
Well, I guess it's called a tunic, T-U-N-I-C, a prayer tunic. But that's not it. Look what else he found and he just posted. Look what he just posted 15 hours ago. Look what he posted. Right here. Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, a Quran. Or passport. Sorry, passport. Found this on the border. I personally found passports. Pretty scary, folks. I mean, these are people coming into Jacumba, California. So it's just something else, another element, and it's not connected to Tren De Aragua, but it's, it also brings into light who else is coming into this country.
Well, I mean, they're coming from all over the world, so there's going to be travel papers from wherever they came from,
or shredded papers.
I have an entire collection of IDs, passports, all kinds of stuff.
If we probably can't show them on YouTube, but you got hundreds of them, Magnolia. Magnolia collects them. When we were down on the border, you would go around and just pick them up. I mean, you've seen almost like every country at that point, correct?
Yeah, there's they're from all over. They come from all over the world.
So we'll keep our eyes out on Tren De Aragua, folks. Like Tren De Aragua, that is, what we're paying attention to. I do want to share some additional information. Anything else you'd like to add, Magnolia?
No, I think that's the most recent info we have, but it just seems like the list keeps growing every day of different states that they're popping up in. So we just have to keep an eye out. Like you always tell people, stay vigilant.
Stay vigilant.
Yeah.
Stay vigilant. It's I don't know what to think anymore, but we'll see if it gets stopped. Because, you know, a couple years ago, no one in this country was talking about Tren De Aragua in the United States. No one was really been talking about it for like 6 months.
Yeah, we just started hearing the name really in the last several months. We started hearing it all the time. It used to just be MS-13 and gangs like that, but now it's like this gang, TDA, has taken over, it seems like.
TDA. That's what we're going to call it. And I might not even say it right either still. Tren De Aragua. I do the best I can.
No, you say it.
Tren De Aragua.
Yep.
I mean, that's what it sounds like, Tren De Aragua. But it took me a while to kind of even say that, so I can say this right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All right. Appreciate it, Magnolia. Thank you.
All right.
All right. So as we continue this conversation, I want to play one more report here, folks, about Tren De Aragua. To keep you guys informed of the area here. We need to be aware of this group. Trying our best to try to put the information out there so you guys can know, and you guys can do your due diligence in your own research, share the video out. You know, this is on top of other like I said, I just showed the Islamic prayer rug and the Muslims that are coming up on the border. We don't know who any of them are, and that's a whole different topic discussion because there's been, things and scary things and people have been indicted for possible plots that came in through the southern border. But that's a whole other live that we'll do as we continue to go on the conversation. Listen to this right here.
Let's bring in former DHS Senior Advisor Charles Marino and National Sheriff's Association President Karen Donahue. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Let's dive right in where our CB Cotton just left off, and that is the slew of arrests by ICE going after these vicious criminal aliens. And now you've got Tom Homan, the border czar, coming in saying that they're going to prioritize going into places that have, and we're showing now here the Tren De Aragua, the violent Venezuelan gang. You see them in more than 16 states across the country. There are seriously dangerous criminals out there that the incoming Trump administration says they need to get them and get them quickly. But Charles, do you anticipate that they really are going to be met with this pushback and challenges from sanctuary jurisdictions?
Well, that pushback at the end of the day, Griff, really doesn't matter. These leaders of sanctuary cities are speaking as if they're in a position of power when they have none. Unfortunately for them, this is about federal law, federal enforcement of the immigration and border security laws. And that is exactly what's going to happen. The only pushback they can offer is forcing their law enforcement departments at the state and local level to not work cooperatively with ICE to identify these criminal aliens and prioritize them for removal. That's, of course, ultimately hurting their own communities, despite their face. However, ICE will just send in more agents to those locations to execute these operations. Look, the past 4 years, the United States has been allowed to be saturated with a diverse range of threats to the homeland, and that is unacceptable. The American voters have demanded, based on the outcome of this election, that the Trump administration more aggressively go after these threats to American citizens.
Sheriff, what are you hearing from other sheriffs around the country about the intended plans for the incoming administration and the challenges that they may face in these sanctuaries?
Well, I think the vast majority of these sheriffs that are speaking out to us at the National Sheriff's Association and to me personally are concerned that it's not really going to happen quickly enough. Their citizens are under siege, especially when we look at the northern border. Of course, the southern border has always been a hotspot, but the northern border, with a roughly 600% increase in illegal activity, even the governors in those states are saying we need more assistance up here. At the same time, they're saying, well, we're still sanctuary. But I think that bounce will come in. But that's not going to, when we look at the interior of the United States and states like mine who has a Canadian border in our state, and we have these people all around us in states surrounding us, we haven't had them established here, but it's not just TDA or Tren De Aragua that's concerning. It's the Sinaloa cartel, the Jalisco New Generation cartel that have helped facilitate and made alliances with these groups, especially like TDA. That criminality is going to increase, and these sheriffs are feeling the pressure. They do not have the manpower and the resources to address it. And so they're a little bit on edge of how we plan to put a stop to it. After what Charles just has said, these people have been invited in for over 4 years, or practically 4 years now, and we have had such saturation, it's going to be very difficult to get a handle on the criminality that exists today.
And Charles, there's another caravan on the way now, about 1,500 or more strong. It is the sixth caravan that's departed Tapachula in southern Mexico since the new Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, took office at the beginning of October. And one of the migrants in this caravan said he's not afraid of the incoming Trump administration. Listen here.
I watched an interview where Trump said there will be a deportation of anyone who committed a crime from any country. But for an immigrant who hasn't committed any crime, there won't be a deportation. So I'm not afraid of anything. Whatever happens, the dream is the American dream, and to be there.
So Charles, do we think that this is going to slow things down, or it's going to pick up right now?
Well, we still have the ultimate pull factor for this crisis, and that's Joe Biden, and that's the problem. There's been no better time to make this journey to the United States than under the Biden administration, and they know that, and the clock is ticking. We've lost all deterrence, which is why these caravans continue. The Trump administration will reintroduce that deterrence by enforcing the laws of the country. Unfortunately for the Trump administration, since they're not getting any help from the current administration, we're now going to have to find all of these threats within the interior of the United States. It's unfortunate. It makes everybody's job harder. We would hope that the Biden administration would have done the right thing from the start on this when they got voted into office, but they did not. So the Trump administration will have to fix it. It's going to be a tough undertaking, as the sheriff said, but it is what it is right now. And the Trump administration is going to have to identify and prioritize these deportations quickly.
And they're going to have to prioritize, actually, I know for a fact, by the way, at the Border Patrol and at ICE, targeting the TDA, Tren De Aragua foothold that's taking grip across the country is going to need to be a priority and continue to be so. Sheriff, I'll give you the last word on sort of your thoughts for Tom Homan and the incoming administration on how best to arm and equip the sheriffs that are on the front lines of this.
Well, thank you. And Tom's been great already. He's already reached out several times to NSA and to us. We're meeting, we're having discussions, and really it's going to be all hands on deck. And what the sheriffs of the country need to pledge, regardless of their political affiliation, they need to pledge security for their country, enforce the rule of law, state, federal, local, whatever that is. And so what I see happening is the administration is going to involve the sheriffs, involve local law enforcement to the extent that they can. But the local law enforcement, as well as sheriffs across this country, need to be committed to helping this administration address this threat.
Sheriff Karen Donahue, Charles Marino, thank you.
All right, so the administration has already been in contact with the Sheriff's Association president, and they're going to get the sheriffs on board here across the country, the sheriffs, right? The local sheriffs, and we'll see what happens here. I believe that Tren De Aragua is target number one, but also he shared other types of individuals, you know, the cartel gangs, the different cartel gangs that are, you know, smuggling the people across the southern border that got their hands all in on this too. And it will be interesting to see what the Mexican president does. Since she's been in office, they've reported there have been like 6 different caravans coming up. So is she going to stop it? Is she going to cooperate with the federal government on the U.S. side? Remains to be seen. And then also, you know, the sheriff also expressed a little, or one of them expressed a little bit of concern regarding, you know, the Trump administration not acting fast enough. So again, my curiosity is what's going to happen from January 20th on. We discussed it in length yesterday. It remains to be seen. We will see on this channel, and we will share all the information as it comes out in real time. All right, folks. So Tren De Aragua, public awareness on this particular group here. Hopefully I informed you, and today we can make a difference, share the information out. Anything else wild goes out on these individuals, you will hear it here on JLR Investigates. We cover the border 24/7, 365. I told Magnolia, I said, we got to go back to the border. Just don't know when yet. We'll be up in Washington, D.C. during the inauguration time covering what's going on in the streets there. And then from that point forward, we don't know where we're going to go. It doesn't look like Denver's doing the standoff like they said they were going to do. So I'm not sure about going to Denver, but I'm interested in going in these cities to see what ICE does. New York City at the detention centers, or maybe we'll be boots on the ground outside of jail somewhere. We're back at the border somewhere. We're going somewhere. This is a topic that we will continue to talk about on this channel, and check out the playlist. Thank you, members. Thank you, subs. Thanks. Keep the comments coming out. We'll talk soon. I need more coffee. I'm kind of a little sleepy this morning, but this stuff should definitely wake you up. We'll talk soon. Have a good morning, everyone. JLR Investigates. Be safe.